Hello friends, welcome back to the parsonage. It's Pastor Don from First United Methodist Church of Brazoria, and here's today's stay-at-home daily devotional. In August of 2005, Beth and I were serving a rural church in Iola, Texas, about a half an hour from Texas A&M. It was during that month that Hurricane Katrina struck Louisiana and Mississippi. And on the Sunday following the storm, I was sick in my soul. The television images of New Orleans and Biloxi were heart-wrenching. There were estimates of as many as 10,000 deaths and reports of bodies floating down the streets in the devastated Ninth Ward in New Orleans. Rescue operations were ongoing from the air and on the ground or on the water. Things were so bad, in fact, that a Coast Guard helicopter crew returned from a rescue flight, and the pilot immediately exited the cockpit upon landing and vomited. And within that context, I needed to preach a sermon, a message to our little congregation, safe and far from the disaster area. Now, prior to worship, I helped teach a youth Sunday school class. As it consisted mainly of young men, we called it the varsity class. And while starting the class discussion, I admitted openly, I confessed, that I was very upset with the Katrina news and, well, I didn't have a sermon ready to preach. I told the boys, honestly, I don't know how or what to say. A young man named Tom said, quote, "Remember, blessed are those who mourn. Blessed are those who mourn." I felt goosebumps on my neck and maybe even my heart strangely warmed. I don't know, but I turned to the copy of the Message version of the Bible, which was sitting closed on my lap, open to the 5th chapter of St. Matthew, and these very words leapt out at me. You're blessed when you feel you've lost what is most dear to you. Only then can you be embraced by the one most dear to you. It had a profound and humbling effect. It was a God moment. Sometimes we can find ourselves missing the most obvious of things. Why, that's the basis for the saying, I couldn't see the forest for the trees. We get so familiar with things that we lose sight of their meaning or importance. And this can certainly be true about things in the Bible. If you're like me, you'll have been hearing Bible stories since early childhood, as early as I can remember anyway. Tales of Noah and the Ark, David and Goliath. I don't think so, Davy. Jesus walking on the water, Jesus healing a leper or a blind man or a paralytic, Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead, and Jesus himself rising from the dead on Easter. And then in children's Sunday school, well, I still remember the felt board where we'd move cloth figures around to act out those stories for ourselves. And well, those stories become like old friends I like to revisit from time to time. Well, thanks to young Tom Barling, on the first Sunday of September 2005, an old friend, the Beatitudes, paid me a visceral and powerful visit. And today, if you'll allow me, I'd like to revisit them once again with you. Now, the word beatitude literally means blessed. The Beatitudes then are a list of people who our Lord calls blessed, or as another old friend, the late Reverend Dr. Virgil Howard called them, Jesus's people. This list opens the greatest sermon ever preached, the Sermon on the Mount. You can find in Matthew chapters 5 through 7. However, unlike the world standards where, for example, people are seen as blessed by wealth or power or beauty or influence or lots of stuff, the Beatitudes turn the tables and lift up as blessed those usually thought pitiful. Jesus lifted up those who are so poor they're even poor in spirit. the mourning, the meek, those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, the merciful, peacemakers, martyrs, and so on. Simply put, it's a list of Jesus's people. That's why they're blessed. God is on their side. And as St. Paul reminds us, if God is for us, who is against us? Answer, nobody. Mind you, friends, I knew all of this about the Beatitudes. In fact, I'd heard Dr. Howard preach and lecture about it in 1999, some 6 years earlier, but there was something powerful about both the timing of my reading that September Sunday and the actual words I read that seemed to make the God moment. And I'd like to read those very words to you and hope that you'll hear them afresh and anew. See the forest, not just the trees, if you will, and maybe they'll touch you like they touched me. Now, the late Eugene Peterson, an Old Testament professor and expert, composed the Message version of the Bible. And here are the Beatitudes as he translated them. You're blessed when you're at the end of your rope. With less of you, there's more of God and His rule. You're blessed when you feel you've lost what is most dear to you. Only then can you be embraced by the one most dear to you. You're blessed when you're content with just who you are, no more, no less. That's the moment you find yourselves proud owners of everything that can't be bought. You're blessed when you've worked up a good appetite for God. He's food and drink and the best meal you'll ever eat. You're blessed when you care. At the moment of being careful, you'll find yourselves cared for. You're blessed when you get your inside world, your mind and heart put right. Then you can see God in the outside world. You're blessed when you can show people how to cooperate instead of compete or fight. That's when you discover who you really are and your place in God's family. You're blessed when your commitment to God provokes persecution. The persecution drives you even deeper into God's kingdom. Not only that, count yourselves blessed every time people put you down or throw you out or speak lies about you to discredit me. What it means is that the truth is too close for comfort and they're uncomfortable. You can be glad when that happens. Give a cheer even, for though they don't like it, I do. And all heaven applauds. And you know that you are in good company. My prophets and witnesses have always gotten into this kind of trouble. How about that? All heaven applauds. Jesus' people usually overlooked and at best pitied by the world when they're not being exploited or robbed by the more powerful. But God doesn't overlook. Rather, He identifies and sets them apart. See what love the Father has given us, that we should be called children of God, and that is what we are. The reason the world does not know us is that it did not know Him. My friends, the Sermon on the Mount is as powerful today as it was upon that Galilean hillside 2,000 years ago. And our Lord's words transcend the time with a meaning so rich in eternal truth. You see, we are called to be children of God, to be set apart by virtue of our call and our baptism from the ways of the world. Simply put, we are called to be Jesus' people. I will give them a heart to know that I am the Lord, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God. For they shall return to me with their whole heart. We need to be the kind of people God calls us to be. Not people of the world, but people of the gospel. Easter people, Jesus' people. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds, so that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. And friends, while those ways may seem pitiful by the powerful, rich, and famous, we'll serve an awesome Lord and enjoy a matchless retirement plan. Thanks, Tom. Grace, peace, and good health always, and have a blessed day.